A very warm welcome to our parents, friends, and especially our grandparents who are joining us today. We are so proud of our Class 7 students, and we are thrilled to celebrate their talents and voices in this speech presentation. The title is Nevertheless, She Persisted, which honors and celebrates women who have made history. At the core of the Marymount mission is our commitment to empower each student to discover her own voice and find confidence in that voice. In honor of the International Women's Month in March, every single Class 7 student selected and then researched a woman whose story inspired them. We are proud of the diverse women that are featured here today and the confidence that our Class 7 students demonstrate in sharing their stories. Today's presentation is the second of 3 interdisciplinary units during their years in the upper middle school. They are designed to keep our students' voices strong and empower them to communicate effectively with confidence and joy. We are so proud of each and every one of our girls and their excellent work, and thrilled to be able to share our presentation with all of you today, giving you a glimpse into the dynamic and exciting curricular work which fills our days at Marymount. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this special Class 7 speech presentation.
Good morning and welcome to the Class 7 speech production of Nevertheless, She Persisted, a show celebrating the life and achievements of women who have rocked our world. In honor of International Women's Month in March, every Class 7 student selected and then researched a woman whose story has inspired them. These figures included women in STEM, female artists and performers, politicians, athletes, religious leaders, global activists, and even family members. After much exploration and deep research, each student went on to create a project to reflect their chosen woman. Today we wish to present these projects to you and share why these women are so special. Marymount was founded by the strong-willed Mother Marie Joseph Butler and the dedicated women of the RSHM. We, like our foundress, want to be strong, fierce, independent women who go and do so much good in this world. These stories have reminded us that so much can be done by just one person and one courageous woman. So sit back and relax as we present to you, Nevertheless, She Persisted.
My name is Olivia Alvarez-Gayani, and I will be sharing with you about Malala. What would cause you to give up on your dream? Well, Malala has been through more than you can imagine, and she is still fighting for hers. Malala's life is full of many hardships that she's been able to overcome, like living under the rule of the Taliban and getting shot in the head. But she still persists and fights for girls' education. She's incredibly resilient and determined. I really look up to her for that, and it's why I find her so inspirational. Malala is an extremely hard-working person who stands up for herself and never gives up, even when the odds are against her. She has many amazing qualities. Some examples of this are: Malala is a very brave woman who fights for what she believes in. She was born in Mingora, Pakistan on July 12, 1997. When she was 11, the Taliban took over her town in Swat Valley. They banned things like owning a television and playing music, as well as enforced harsh punishments for those who defied their orders. They also banned girls from going to school, which meant that Malala had to say goodbye to her classmates, never knowing when she would see them again. She started speaking out for the education of girls, which the Taliban didn't like. So one day in 2012, when she was 15 years old, they boarded the bus she was on and shot her in her head. She later woke up in Birmingham, England, where the doctors and nurses told her what had happened. Another amazing quality about her is that Malala also works incredibly hard for what she wants to accomplish. After getting shot, she spent months in recovery, and the moment she was rehabilitated, she decided that she is going to keep fighting until every girl gets an education. In 2018, she began studying philosophy, politics, and economics at the University of Oxford, which she recently graduated from in 2020, and in 2014 she established the Malala Fund with the help of her father. Malala spent months recovering from the bullet, and once she did, she continued working on her goal. She also worked hard on her education. The last amazing and admirable quality that Malala possesses is that she never gives up, no matter what. She stood up for girls' rights to an education, even though she knew there would be consequences, and she did receive a punishment from the Taliban. But even after she got shot, after the long and difficult recovery, she still continues to fight for the education of every girl on the planet to this day. Even after almost dying, Malala still fights for girls' rights to an education. She is an admirable woman who works hard when she wants to accomplish something, who stands up for what she believes in, and who never gives up no matter what. Malala continues to work hard to achieve her goal of getting every single girl an education. And in December 2014, she received the Nobel Peace Prize and became the youngest ever Nobel laureate. Now she travels the world to meet girls fighting poverty, wars, child marriage, and gender discrimination to go to school. For my creative component, I decided to make an image of Malala surrounded by some of my favorite quotes that she has said. The two that I find the most powerful are, "We realize the importance of our voices only when we are silenced," and "Do not wait for someone else to come and speak for you. It's you who can change the world."
Hello, my name is Lucy Cooney, and today I will be sharing about Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth was one of the most powerful advocates for women's rights and the abolition of slavery. Despite never having learned to read or write, she was able to give moving speeches that are still repeated today, even more than 200 years after she first gave them. However, Sojourner Truth was not always a free woman and inspirational speaker. Her given name was Isabella Baumfree, and she was born an enslaved person in New York. When she was 9 years old, she was sold off in a slave auction to a man named John Neely. He was a cruel and violent slave master and would regularly beat Truth. By the time she was 13, she was sold 2 more times and eventually ended up in the home of John Dumont and his wife. When she was 18 years old, she was forced to marry an enslaved man owned by Dumont named Thomas. The two had 5 children named James, Diana, Peter, Elizabeth, and Sophia. While New York was slowly taking the steps to emancipate all slaves, Truth left behind her children and escaped her masters on her own. She was taken in by a family in upstate New York. When anti-slavery laws in New York came into full effect, John Dumont, Truth's former master, unlawfully sold one of Truth's sons, Peter. She filed a lawsuit against him and later became the first black woman to sue a white man in United States court in triumph. Not long after this, in 1829, Truth moved to New York City, where she found work as a housekeeper for an evangelist preacher. In 1843, after years of living surrounded by Christians, Isabella Baumfree changed her name to Sojourner Truth and began her journey of preaching and speaking out against slavery and oppression. A year later, Truth joined an abolitionist organization in Massachusetts called the Northampton Association of Education and Industry. Here, she met other abolitionists, including Frederick Douglass, who commended her for her efforts toward the abolitionist movement. In 1851, Truth gave her famous "Ain't I a Woman" speech at the Ohio Women's Rights Convention. During the Civil War, she rallied Americans to donate food, clothes, and other supplies to help black refugees. She also helped to recruit black soldiers to fight for the Union. In 1864, Truth's past abolitionist work caught the attention of current President Abraham Lincoln, who invited her to the White House. Once the Civil War was over, Sojourner Truth worked tirelessly to find jobs for freed black people who had previously been slaves. Sojourner Truth was one of the most powerful women advocating for black rights and women's rights. It was because of this that I chose her for my Influential Women project. For the creative portion of this project, I created a small collage. In the middle is a photograph of Sojourner Truth herself, and surrounding her are various cutouts from her inspirational speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" Truth's "Ain't I a Woman" speech is her most well-known one. I chose these lines in particular because I feel that they really show what she was trying to convey with the whole speech. The photograph of truth is in the middle, and this is meant to represent how she was at the center of all her speeches. Even though Sojourner Truth never learned to read or write, she managed to give moving and powerful speeches, and her accomplishments make her one of the most inspirational women's rights activists in American history.
My name is Laura, and I did my project on Kamala Harris. She is a smart and hardworking woman who is breaking down barriers. Kamala was born in Oakland, California on October 20th, 1964. In her childhood, her mother was her role model. She once told her, "Kamala, you may be the first to do many things, but make sure you are not the last." Throughout Harris's life, she has been motivated to become a prosecutor and has worked to overcome any challenges she has faced. Kamala's most famous and influential quote is, "At every step of the way, I've been guided by the words I spoke from the first time I stood in a courtroom. Kamala Harris, for the people." During Kamala's career, she has made many accomplishments. She served in the district attorney in San Francisco, where she was the first African American woman and South Asian American woman in California to hold the office. In addition, she spent her full professional life in the trenches as a courtroom prosecutor. And now she is the first woman, the first Black American, and the first South Asian American to be elected as Vice President of the United States. Kamala is inspiring to me because she is a role model for young girls and older women. I hope to someday be the businesswoman and leader that she is. Overall, Kamala Harris has shattered the glass ceiling and inspired other women to pursue high-ranking careers in public service. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Silvana, and today I will be talking about Queen Elizabeth I. When people think of powerful monarchs, they usually think of an ancient emperor or a famous king. However, the person who is known as one of England's best rulers was female. Queen Elizabeth I was the first Queen of England, and the time she ruled in is known as the Elizabethan era. It was one of the most prosperous times in English history. Born on September 7th, 1533, Queen Elizabeth was the daughter of the infamous King Henry VIII, and his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Her mother was actually given a choice before being executed: die and Elizabeth would still have a chance at being queen, or live and forfeit her right to the throne. She chose death. King Henry VIII's next wife, Jane Seymour, actually had a son, but he was sickly, so he died before being able to be king. After many people, including Queen Elizabeth's half-sister, Mary, Queen of Scots, had the throne for small periods of time, Queen Elizabeth finally inherited the throne. After this, there came an era of prosperity for England. Queen Elizabeth focused on the arts in England. She was queen during the Renaissance, so the arts were already thriving. She was personal friends with William Shakespeare, who was infamous for his plays at the time. The economy in England also thrived under her rule. Elizabeth never married. She said her one true love was England, and now is known as the Virgin Queen. In my creative component, I drew a crown with Queen Elizabeth's title at the top. I drew this because I wanted to show that despite being female in a patriarchal society, she can still be queen. This proves that she was strong, although the world did not believe in her. She also did a good job of becoming an icon and an idol for many generations to come. She is still discussed today, although most monarchs from then are not. Even her sense of style, which is very iconic, is well known by everyone. I decided to talk about her because she really started to shape the future. Since she was queen in a relatively conservative time, many people were not very open-minded. They did not believe in having a woman as a ruler, and they thought it wasn't a good idea. Queen Elizabeth proved that even though many people do not believe in you, you should still do what you think is best to help the world. She was also queen for a very long time, which helped England a lot. Despite not having an easy childhood, Queen Elizabeth managed to be one of the best monarchs of England. She created an era of peace and prosperity for the English and did all this without a man by her side. Thank you for listening to my speech.
Hi, my name is Tessie, and today I will be speaking about Malala Yousafzai. Imagine being shot in the head just for standing up for what you believe in. From being persecuted to being the youngest person to win the Nobel Peace Prize, Malala Yousafzai has made an enormous impact on young women and girls around the world. Malala Yousafzai has sacrificed so much to get to where she is today, inspiring all girls to learn and take advantage of every opportunity, while she provides opportunities to those less fortunate. Malala was born on July 12, 1997 in Mangora, Pakistan. Her father taught at the school she attended, but other girls did not have the same privilege. She has two brothers, Atal Yousafzai and Kushal Yousafzai. The Taliban, a terrorist group, had taken over Pakistan. Pakistan is on the right in blue. It is in the Middle East where there is a lot of violence. Malala was very lucky to be able to go to school. She valued education and she was at the top of her class. She blogged her life for BBC to show how life was after the Taliban took over. This made the Taliban very mad and they saw her as a target. On October 9, 2012, the Taliban shot Malala while she was on her school bus. The man aimed a Colt .45 and aimed 3 times, and one of the bullets hit the left side of Malala's forehead. She then went to the hospital in England, where she was in a coma for 3 days. After Malala recovered, she moved to the United Kingdom permanently. She continued to fight for women's rights to education. She won the Nobel Peace Prize at only 17 years old, making her the youngest person to ever win this prize. She started the Malala Fund to help send girls to school. She has inspired me to stick up for what I believe in. She started the Malala Fund to support those less fortunate, even though some people did not agree with her. She has inspired me to not give up hope and to be brave even if there is danger. After she was shot, she was even more determined to finish her mission, no matter the danger. She knew she had a bigger purpose in life and danger would not stop her. She is so strong and didn't listen to anybody when they said she couldn't fight for what she believed in. It might have seemed hopeless because she was only one girl in a country taken over by the Taliban, but that did not stop her. From getting shot to starting her own fund to winning the Nobel Peace Prize, Malala Yousafzai inspires young men and women to continue their education and to fight for what they believe in. She now lives safely in the UK, where she continues to stand up for the right to education.
Hi, my name is Olivia, and today I'll be sharing about Sandra Day O'Connor. In a time period when women were treated as if they were inferior to men, Sandra Day O'Connor achieved what had seemed impossible during the early stages of the women's rights movement. Throughout O'Connor's life, she overcame the challenge of discrimination against women. During her fight for equality, she wanted to change dozens of laws that she thought were unfair and outdated. This shows that O'Connor always strived for a fair government without biased laws. While practicing law, O'Connor served her country as a civil attorney in Germany and as the Assistant Attorney General for the state of Arizona, where she demonstrated her dedication to law and to public service. During Ronald Reagan's 1980 presidential campaign, he promised to nominate the first woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. When Reagan won the 1980 presidential election in a landslide, he followed through with his campaign promise and nominated Sandra Day O'Connor to the U.S. Supreme Court, where she was confirmed unanimously by the Senate. While serving on the court, now Justice O'Connor often served as a swing vote in controversial cases. As a result, she had a major impact on the Supreme Court ruling and their effect on society. In 1981, when O'Connor was appointed to the court, just 36% of law students were women. By the time she retired in 2006, 43% of law students were women. This significant increase in female law students shows that Sandra Day O'Connor inspired many women to pursue their own dreams of practicing law. Because of Sandra Day O'Connor's legacy and success as the first woman ever in the Supreme Court, other women pioneers like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan had a better opportunity to follow in her footsteps as a female Supreme Court justice. I chose to do my creative component on Sandra Day O'Connor because she's influenced me and many others in the world. She's shown that you can do anything you put your mind to. When she first became a lawyer, she had trouble finding a job and no one would accept her because she was a woman. But then she went to the Supreme Court and proved them wrong. She then influenced so many people to pursue their dreams even if they think they can't.
Hello, my name is Alexandra Harris, and today I am going to talk about Madam C.J. Walker and how she inspired others with her story. First, I will give you an overview of her life. Sarah Breedlove, more commonly known as Madame C.J. Walker, was one of the most successful entrepreneurs and activists of her time. Born in Louisiana into poverty on a plantation in 1867, she was the first in her family to be born free after the Emancipation Proclamation. At the age of 6, she was orphaned, and when she was 14, she got married for the first time. She had a daughter with her first husband, named Alia, and in 1885, but became a widow a few years later. She moved to St. Louis, where she worked as a laundress and went to night school while raising her young daughter. At the same time, she also became active in the National Association of African American Women. Struggling financially with hair loss and with the strain of years of hard labor, her life took a turn in 1904. That was when she started using Annie Turbo Malone's hair grower, which helped her a lot, but she also started working for Malone's sales team. A year later, she moved to Denver, Colorado, where she met and married Charles J. Walker, who was the inspiration for her hair company. With barely any money, she launched her own line of hair products for African American women. One of the most popular products she made, she also used herself. Madame Walker's wonderful hair grower helped her and everyone that bought it. In 1910, she divorced Charles J. Walker, relocated to Indianapolis, and built a factory for her Walker Manufacturing Company. Since she was also an advocate of Black women's economic independence, she opened training programs for Black women to become licensed sales agents. By the end of her life, she had employed 40,000 African American women and men in the United States. The year that she died, her business had sales exceeding 500,000. Her total worth was over $1 million, including her mansion in Irving, New York, and her properties all over America. She donated much of her money towards charity and 2/3 of her net profits to charity on her will. Madame C.J. Walker was an inspiration to many African American women and men. Even after she died, thousands of people worked for her in her factories and sold her products. Her business led her to be one of the first African American women to become a self-made millionaire. Her courage, determination, and passion are what really make her story such an inspiration to all. I chose to pick Madame C.J. Walker for my project because I was astonished by all the things she did, not just for herself, but for many people. When she created her hair grower, she used it herself and realized it could be helpful for other people. She also made other products that she knew were helpful to her, an African American woman, to sell to other African American women. At this time, there were only a few companies who sold hair products for African American people. She was a very considerate woman since she helped many people get jobs and nicer hair. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new about an inspirational woman.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of good fortune must be in want of a wife. Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. Hello, my name is Ava Hernandez, and I will be sharing my influential woman, Jane Austen. Jane Austen is an influential woman because she's a talented author and has redefined romance in her novels. Jane Austen is important because she has created characters who are inspiration to many women. Her books discuss important topics such as marriage, sisterhood, and romance. And these are paintings of her printed out. Early life. She was born on December 16th, 1775. Education. She was tutored in Oxford by Miss Anne Cawley. She then went to boarding school with her sister. She started writing at age 11 and wrote many poems and stories for her family. Her early years of writing and attending school probably had an influence on her later work. Her early works. After writing stories for her family, she started writing works called Juvenile. Between 1787 and 1793, she wrote 29 works in 3 journals. Some of her early works include Love and Friendship and The History of England. After this, she started her 6 most famous works. Her most famous works are Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, Northanger Abbey, and Persuasion. Elizabeth Bennet, the main character in Pride and Prejudice, is a strong female character, and this is her in the 2005 movie version. Jane Austen's books have been adapted into many movies, including Pride and Prejudice, 2005, Sense and Sensibility, 1995, and Emma, 2020. To summarize my main points, when she was a child, she attended school. She started writing books as a teen and a young adult. She is very talented and has written 6 amazing books. Jane Austen is a significant 18th century author and is very influential to me.
Hello, I'm Delissa Cruz and I'm doing Anne Frank. It's 1942. There's a war right outside your window. You and your family have to hide from the Nazis in a secret apartment hidden behind the bookshelf. There are no forms of communication with the outside world, only a diary to talk to and write down all of your thoughts and experiences. This was the life of Anne Frank during World War II. Anne Frank was born June 12, 1929, in Frankfurt, Germany. She was a Jewish victim of the Holocaust. At only 13 years old, she had to endure the most horrific experience, but through tragedy, she managed to persevere and shine light in the darkest moments. Her words of positivity and courage, found in her diary, have been influential ever since publication in 1947. Her diary was translated into almost 70 languages around the world. During the midst of despair, Anne Frank demonstrated positive qualities by reflecting on people who inspired her. She always dreamt of becoming a famous actress and would hang pictures of well-known movie stars to brighten her room. Furthermore, to help her group cope with their situation and distract them from reality, she would frequently request to play board games. Playing board games provided them with the source of cheerfulness and laughter. At a young age, she exhibited compassion and thoughtfulness for others, which is very admirable. Her father, Otto Frank, believed in the power of positive thinking and supported her attitude. In addition, Anne Frank presented characteristics of courage and perseverance. Despite having lived over 700 days in secret annex, knowing that there was a possibility of getting caught and never returning to the life she once lived, she maintained a strong mentality and never gave up. Instead, she viewed the good in all the little things we often take for granted, including life and nature. As she states in her diary, nearly every morning I go to the attic to blow the stuffy air out of my lungs. From my favorite spot on the floor, I look up at the blue sky and the bare chestnut tree, on whose branches little raindrops shine, appearing like silver, and at the seagulls and the other birds as they glide on the wind. As long as this exists, I thought, and I may live to see it, this sunshine, the cloudless skies, while this lasts, I cannot be unhappy. To Anne, this tree symbolized a ray of hope in a gloomy world. Even though her life was cut short, Anne Frank impacted the world. Her traits of positivity, courage, and perseverance inspired me to appreciate the little things in life and to not take anything for granted.
Imagine if one day many people look up to you just because you stood up for what you believe in. Imagine if one action of bravery can change a flawed law. Hello, my name is Bella, and this is the story of Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was a civil rights activist who fought for the rights of African Americans. She was known for refusing to stand up on a bus just because she was Black. Rosa Parks inspired many with her brave action, so the Montgomery bus boycott was started. Without Rosa Parks, bus segregation could have taken a much longer time to be abolished. Even at an early age, Rosa Parks was upset with the injustices of the world. Rosa Parks was born in Tuskegee, Alabama on February 4, 1913. She grew up on a farm with her grandparents, mother, and younger brother. She moved to Montgomery at the age of 11 and went to the Montgomery Industrial School for Girls. On her way to school in the mornings, Rosa Parks noticed how the white children received clean buses that came to them, but the Black children did not have the same privilege and had to walk to school. The older she grew, the more Rosa Parks wanted equality. One day, Rosa Parks was coming home from her job as a seamstress in Montgomery on the Cleveland Avenue bus. She sat in the 5th row of the bus. On her way home, all the bus seats in the white-only section got filled up. To make more room, the bus driver expanded the white-only section past where Rosa Parks was sitting. The bus driver, James F. Blake, demanded that she stand up. Even though he threatened to call the police, Rosa Parks refused to get out of her seat. She got arrested and was taken to jail. She was charged for violating the Montgomery segregation law, even though she was in the correct section. Rosa Parks was fined $14 in total, about $135 today. When word got around, people became outraged. They wanted to prove that they will not stop fighting for what they believe in. The night Rosa Parks was released from jail, 35,000 flyers were being printed to let people know that there would be a boycott. The Montgomery bus boycott was a success, and over 40,000 Black commuters stopped taking the bus. A new organization was formed to manage the boycott, called the Montgomery Improvement Association. The bus boycott lasted for over a year, but on November 13, 1956, the Supreme Court ruled bus segregation unconstitutional. For my project, I made a word art. It contains a picture of Rosa Parks surrounded by major events from her life and adjectives that describe her. 2 of the adjectives I used are determined and brave. I chose the adjective brave because of her courage when she stayed seated on the Montgomery bus. I chose the adjective determined because she was determined to stand up for civil rights. I decided to do a visual representation because it allows me to better express all of her marvelous accomplishments and traits.
My name is Amelia, and for my women's presentation, I decided to choose Malala Yousafzai. Malala Yousafzai was born on July 12, 1997, in Mingora, Pakistan. Growing up, she was an excellent student. Her father ran a school for girls, encouraging her to excel in her studies. When she was 10 years of age, her homeland was taken over by the Taliban. The Taliban is a terrorist radical Muslim group. They believe that women do not have the same rights as men. Under their rule, a girl cannot go to school, read, or watch TV. Malala and her father continued to educate girls. Malala blogged for the BBC and went to school in secret with her friends. Even when she received death threats from the Taliban, she persisted and continued to speak her mind. She spoke out for girls' education. On October 12, 2012, she was shot by a member of the Taliban for speaking her mind on the school bus. She survived the incident and still speaks out for equal rights. Malala Yousafzai even wrote an autobiography about her experience and remains the youngest person to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. Let's go into more detail about the incident in which she was shot and its aftermath. On October 12, 2012, 15-year-old Malala boarded the bus after school. When 2 strange men stopped the bus and asked, "Who is Malala?" the driver pointed to her. They shot 3 bullets at her. Some of her friends were injured in the accident, but not badly, although Malala's wounds were critical. She was immediately sent to a hospital in Birmingham, England, where she received treatment for her wounds. She received many letters from all around the world with encouraging words. Malala miraculously survived and was reunited with her family. They stayed in England and continued to fight for girls' education rights from there. They even created the Malala Fund, an organization that collects donations to help girls get an education in places where going to school is a struggle. The Malala Fund has raised enough money to send many girls in impoverished countries to school. Without the fund, many brilliant minds would not be able to learn in the same way as boys. For her 18th birthday, she opened a school for girls in Lebanon. She has inspired many to fight for what they believe in and has shown the importance of education for all. Here are some photos of Malala. The one on the top left corner is a picture of her in the hospital in England after being shot. Right next to that is a picture of her book, and then that is she speaking at the UN on her 16th birthday. She was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize a year later. Then in the bottom right corner, there is a picture of her school in Lebanon. Next, there is a picture of her posing for the camera, and then there's a picture of her family in England. Malala, her father, her 2 brothers, and her mother. Finally, right there is a picture of her as a baby. Here is a quote by Malala. They wanted to silence one Malala. Instead, now thousands and millions of Malalas are speaking. For my creative project, I adapted a picture of Malala into digital art. I wrote "Fight for Women's Education" on the side to show her cause, and on the other side, the name of her book can be seen. I hope my project informs everyone about who Malala Yousafzai is and inspires everyone to learn more about Malala's story and her fund.
Hello, my name is Sophia, and I will be speaking about Grace Hopper, a math professor, groundbreaking computer scientist, and pioneer for women in STEM, who is an inspiration to many, myself included. Hopper was born in New York City in 1906. At the age of 7, she disassembled multiple alarm clocks to see how they worked. While her mother limited young Grace to only one, Hopper was not punished and was encouraged to keep learning. She graduated from Vassar College in 1928. Hopper was a brilliant mathematician and earned her master's degree and PhD in mathematics from Yale in 1934. At that time, earning an advanced degree in a male-dominated field was a feat. In 1931, Hopper began teaching mathematics at Vassar. In addition to being an exemplary mathematician and computer scientist, she proved to be quite talented at teaching. Though she resigned from her job at Vassar to enter the Navy, teaching remained a part of her life. After her retirement from Navy service, Hopper taught until her death in 1992. She changed misconceptions about women in STEM fields. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Hopper decided to join the U.S. Navy. Despite initially being rejected because of her small stature, she persisted and was eventually permitted to join, overturning a discriminatory policy. Her contributions to computer science would not have taken place had she not been accepted. She left her teaching position at Vassar College to train. After she completed her training, she was assigned to work on the Mark I computer. The Mark I was capable of calculating extremely complex equations and was greatly beneficial in the war effort. Though Hopper was the only woman on the team, she quickly earned the respect of all her teammates. The machine's calculator function helped to determine where to send naval missiles. While working on the computer, Hopper discovered a dead moth inside the machine, blocking the sensors. She referred to removing the moth as debugging the machine, coining the word along with the term computer bug. Hopper is also known for her work on COBOL, which was the first standardized computer language used for business purposes. In 1970, it was the most extensively used programming language in the world, and it is still used today, 60 years later. Hopper has many famous quotes, but one that resonated with me was, "A ship in port is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. Sail out to sea and do new things." This means that taking risks is advantageous and represents her commitment to finding new ways to use technology. This quote also illustrates Hopper's attitude throughout her life. She tested the limits and did not accept no for an answer. Additionally, Hopper famously said, "I've always been more interested in the future than in the past." She is known for her enthusiasm and hopes for technology, which is why I made a Scratch project to both honor her legacy as a computer scientist and programmer and to reinforce her belief that technology is a powerful tool capable of so much. Hopper's memory lives on in her work and her teachings.
Hi, my name is Remy, and I will be speaking about Marsha P. Johnson. History isn't something you look back at and say it was inevitable. It happens because people make decisions that are sometimes very impulsive and of the moment, but those moments are cumulative realities. Marsha P. Johnson, drag queen and trans activist. Marsha P. Johnson had a very rough life. She grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey, the fifth of 7 children in a very Christian and conservative household, and started to dress more feminine around the age of 5. Her family wasn't happy about this, and after high school, she moved to Greenwich Village with a bag of clothes and $15. Because her family didn't accept her, she had to become independent and resourceful, and this helped her through a lot. In Greenwich Village, she was homeless and had to turn to prostitution to survive. She famously threw the first brick at the Stonewall riots, and this uprising was a huge step forward for what was then called the Gay Liberation Movement. The uprising started the first gay pride marches in the U.S., and she was at the forefront of it all, along with her friend and fellow trans woman and activist Sylvia Rivera. With Sylvia Rivera, she started STAR, Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries. STAR clothed, fed, advocated for, and gave a home to trans youth on the Lower East Side. Her turbulent childhood and being alone at such a young age was unfortunately not uncommon for LGBTQ+ children, but she kept going and used her voice to make sure that less people would have to go through what she did. Marsha P. Johnson was a symbol of hope for not only the trans community, but for the whole LGBTQ+ community, because she helped spawn the first gay prides and helped many people find their voice, even if they were part of a community that was barely ever given a chance to speak. One reason I chose to speak about her is because she needs more credit for what she's done. She's only been getting credit for her role in Stonewall and the LGBTQ rights movement in the past couple of years. She was previously erased and replaced mostly by white cisgender gay men. She's also very inspirational because she basically had nothing when she started working in Greenwich Village. She took what little she had and became one of the biggest trans activists in history. She always held her head high and confident, even when she faced huge challenges, like the laws, police, and basically all of society telling her that she and her community didn't matter, that they were nothing. For my creative part, I put a very famous picture of her in the middle. I chose this picture because I feel it represents her personality. She was very bright, happy, and expressive, and she is all of those things in this picture. I put the trans flag in the background because she was a trans icon. In the blue, I have words like brave and activist because they describe her. I put gladiolus flowers on the bottom pink strip of the flag because they represent strength and sincerity. The iris flowers on the top pink strip of the flag represent hope, as she was a big symbol of hope for the LGBTQ+ community. In conclusion, Marsha P. Johnson was a glowing beacon of hope in the middle of a seemingly dark time for the LGBTQ+ community. She was an icon and deserves more credit for catapulting the LGBTQ+ movement into the future.
Hello, my name is Anna Stocks, and for my project, I chose to learn about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Some things to know about Ruth Bader Ginsburg is that she was a justice on the Supreme Court for 27 years. When she was born on March 15th, 1933, and she passed away on September 18th, 2020. When Ginsburg was young, her mother battled with cancer, and days before her graduation from high school, Justice Ginsburg's mother passed away. A famous quote of Justice Ginsburg's about her mother is, "My mother told me to be a lady," and for her that meant be your own person, be independent. This shows that from a young age, Ruth was taught by her mother that women can live their lives and be independent. She also graduated first from her class at Cornell University. After Cornell, she went to Harvard Law School with her husband. When she was at law school, her husband got cancer, and while he was sick, she went to all of his classes and took notes for him while going to her classes at the same time. When at Harvard, she experienced a lot of sexism because she was one of 8 women in the class of 500. Her life's work was centered around getting rid of gender discrimination and stereotypes. In 1970, Ginsburg co-founded the women's rights law reporter. This was the first newspaper that focused on women's rights. In 1993, Ginsburg was appointed to the Supreme Court by President Clinton. She was the second woman to ever serve on the Supreme Court, and she was also the first Jewish woman to serve. For my creative part, I made a poster with some key facts about her life and a couple of her famous quotes. I also added some photos of her during her career as a justice and a lawyer. Over the years, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's reputation was that of an independent woman who dedicated her life to making the world a better place.
Hello, my name is Annie, and today I'll be speaking about Kalpana Chawla. The path from dream to success does not exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get onto it, and the perseverance to follow it. Wishing you a great journey. Kalpana Chawla. This quote, spoken by Kalpana Chawla, is motivating and related to women in STEM more than is seen to the eye. She describes how to never give up on your dreams and persevere. Women in STEM face discrimination as they are seen as less than, but Kalpana does not want these women to give up when they need to follow their own path. Everyone must further their education on powerful women, specifically in STEM, to not be closed-minded when it comes to the future. Kalpana Chawla played a vital role in many scientific and engineering projects during her time in NASA, so this speech will be explaining her legacy during and after her life. Born on July 1, 1961, Kalpana Chawla lived with her 4 siblings in Karnal, India, before she attended Punjab Engineering College for her aeronautical engineering degree. Then she moved to the United States, where Chawla continued her education, obtaining a doctorate in aerospace engineering and a master's degree. She was hired to be on NASA's Ames research team, where she worked until 1994. Chawla's first voyage to space was when she went on the Colombian space shuttle on flight STS-87. Kalpana Chawla and her crewmates worked on many projects, including a Spartan satellite, which Chawla deployed from the shuttle. Her second trip to space ended tragically as the Colombian shuttle, flight STS-107, was re-entering Earth's atmosphere and hot gas entered the shuttle, causing it to break apart. It killed the crew. Kalpana Chawla died on February 1, 2003. In the end, Kalpana died a very accomplished woman who inspired many. Kalpana Chawla's most notable achievement was being the first ever Indian American female to go to space. This gave Indian girls and women representation in NASA, as the majority of astronauts at her time were white. Kalpana Chawla and her crewmates' tragic deaths in the Colombian shuttle accident was indeed awful, but it was also a learning experience on how to prevent future explorations from ending the same way. Kalpana Chawla played a very important role in diversity for NASA, and her death will be an event that will protect future people's lives. To display her achievement of being the first Indian American woman to go to space, I made a 3D model of space with an Indian flag on it. Even though Kalpana Chawla did not physically walk on the moon, this representation is a metaphor for her accomplishment of being the first female-born Indian astronaut. Her journey was very important for growing racial and gender diversity in NASA, just as landing on the moon was. Kalpana Chawla was a noteworthy astronaut that did much in her 42 years of life, from immigrating to America, getting multiple degrees, and going to space twice. She's influential to many girls, including me. I'm half Indian, and like Kalpana, I enjoy learning about science. Kalpana Chawla was a prominent scientist and engineer that proved that you should pursue your dreams even if you face challenges. Hopefully, because of this speech, you have learned of Kalpana Chawla's amazing lifetime and are eager to learn more about influential women in STEM. Thank you for listening.